Well, it's time to give you guys that retrospective I promised you. So let's start with the Sonic game that started it all. Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Of course, we all know the story of how Sonic came to be, but for those of you who don't, let me give you the quick rundown. Sega wanted a new mascot for their company after their previous mascot, Alex Kidd, failed to compete with Nintendo. So they held a contest between their designers to see who could come up with a new mascot. They all ranged from an armadillo, a dog, Theodore Roosevelt in pajamas, and of course a hedgehog. His fur was colored blue to match the Sega logo. His shoes inspired by Michael Jackson and Santa Claus, the weirdest combination you could think of. His inability to swim, given to him when his designer thought that hedgehogs couldn't swim, even though they actually can. His name was Mr. Needle Mouse. But luckily they changed that to Sonic because that name is pretty stupid. That Roosevelt in pajamas will later go on to be the game's villain, Dr. Robotnik, and the Armadillo will later be the character Mighty the Armadillo, a character who was forgotten about for almost 25 years and then suddenly brought back again. But that's a story for another time.
But that wasn't enough. Sonic needed some advertising. Wait, what? What is this? What on earth? What am I looking at? What? Huh? Okay, this is actually his commercial in Japan. We got much better commercials in America, but oh my gosh. I better stop this before I vomit.
Well, despite whatever that was, the game was a massive success and ended up making Sega a really big name in the gaming industry. And for good reason. So the way this is going to go is I'm going to go through each zone, explain my thoughts on it, and then dive into the gameplay. So, let's go! I apologize for that. Green Hill Zone. This is the level we start with, and it's a pretty good first level. It gets you the idea of what the game is. It's a shame that this level is overused now in modern games because it really was good until we started getting sick of it. Marvel Garden Zone. This is a pretty good level too, although it does slow down the game a lot, but still it is pretty good. Spring Yard Zone. And we immediately go back to being fast. This is really what the whole game should be. Next up, Labyrinth Zone. I hate Labyrinth Zone. Remember what I said about Marble Garden slowing the game down? Well, think of that, only 10 times worse. Also, like I said earlier, Sonic can't swim, which makes it a whole lot harder. This level is a pain in the butt. Prepare to throw your controller out the TV a lot. Starlight Zone. Oh my goodness! It's fun again! This has got to be my favorite level in this game. It provides a nice mix of both the puzzle and slow down elements of Marble Garden and Labyrinth Zone, and of course the speed elements from the rest of the stages. This is really what the whole game should have been, and I absolutely love it. Scrap Brain Zone. Prepare to rage a lot. This has got to be the hardest level in the game, and it is really frustrating. However, there is a nice little section where your drive to beat Robotnik is pretty much at an all-time high, and you have to go through Labyrinth Zone again.
Plus, you know how to do this. Whee!
Final Zone. This is the final boss between Sonic and Eggman. And you have no rings, but despite that fact, it's really easy. Kind of disappointing, but also pretty satisfying when you beat him. But those aren't the only stages that Sonic 1 offers. If you collect 50 rings after you beat a stage, a giant ring will show up. If you go into it, you will enter a special stage. And I hate these. The camera spins around while the background image messes with your head. I get a massive headache every time I try to complete them. But if you want to 100% the game, then you've got to do all of them. Gameplay is pretty basic. You press any of the 3 buttons to jump, and moving, if you move far enough, Sonic will start running. But if you just press it, he'll start walking. It's pretty basic. And if you run, While you press down, Sonic will roll into a ball and it'll become indestructible. If it gets hit by enemies, of course, he will die. Unless you have rings. The more rings you have, the better your chances of succeeding are. It's pretty basic, but it's pretty satisfying. At the end of each Act 3, Robotnik will show up trying to attack you. And these bosses are easy as crap. You could beat them just as quickly as they enter the screen. They're not even worth being called bosses. With the exception of maybe the final one, which is challenging but also pretty easy too. Of course, while Sonic 1 is a good and fun game, it does have its problems, most of which I already mentioned. For one, like I said, the bosses are ridiculously easy, but there appears to be a big gap between going fast and slowing down in some levels. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for these levels to be here, and they can be fun regardless, except Labyrinth Zone. But it's still kind of weird that the marketing was all about going fast, but there are levels where you don't really go fast. It's just a weird thing. In the end, Sonic 1 is a great and fantastic game that introduced my favorite game character in a really good way. It really was a cool and important game in video game history, and I definitely recommend it to anyone. Oh, yeah, before I forget, there's actually a mobile version of this game made by the guy Christian Whitehead, and it's actually even better than the original. It adds features like a spin dash and Tails and Knuckles and a save feature. So that is the best way to play Sonic 1. But even if you can't get the phone version, I still recommend it. But of course, that's not the end for our blue blur here. Whenever you have a big success, a sequel is in the works. Let's see how it holds up. See you guys later.